When the Adpocalypse hit, I lost 75% of my revenue overnight. That's when I started going and looking for sponsored messages on my content. I would encourage all YouTubers have a Twitter account with a little bit of a following, because if the appeal doesn't work on the YouTube side of things, your next step is that YouTube tech support. At some point after doing that for 4 years, I just went to the gym and took my shirt off in front of the mirror and I saw a visible six-pack. You don't need an extreme transformation. It's novel, it's fun when you see one, but man, it's a lot of work. I go to Planet Fitness. It's all a genius ploy. People that actually go to Planet Fitness, they're not making any money on. In fact, they're just taking up space. I've learned in my life to appreciate people that might be bad. Even someone that's kind of a scumbag, that's an interesting person. I try to learn from that and not go down the path that they've gone down.
Hey, welcome to The Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. It is TCU's Day. We are here live on Discord with some patrons just hanging out. I am Kevin Lieber. With me, as always, is Matthew Tabor.
Yeah, and I'm going to be here next week with you, Kevin, right?
Yes, we'll have a little intimate one-on-one time, which we're trying to do one episode a month.
Not too intimate.
Not too intimate. What's
though.
The proper amount of intimate, though? I mean, that's kind of subjective.
I don't know. Imagine how many families listen to this podcast with their young children.
Okay.
They're trying to...
None.
They want them to... They're taking their 4 and 5-year-olds and saying, we know you're going to want to be a TikToker, a YouTuber, all of this. That's unavoidable. So the best we can do is at least have the right people influencing you. That's what happens. Thousands of families across the world do this every week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
No,
I don't think so. Okay. I don't think so. So I think we're safe from that demographic. But so yes. Okay. So next week it's us. Following week will be Oki, which will be really exciting. He's touring the West right now in America
with the Bundy Ranch. Yeah, which I'm excited about.
Just posted a picture of some signs that have bullet holes in them, which is fun.
All the street signs, all the road signs around me have been shot. I mean, that's not weird, is it?
I think it's a little weird, depending upon, I guess, where you're from. But
well, he's Canadian, so there's probably a little less of that.
Yeah. But tonight we have a really, really great guest, so I'm looking forward to chatting with. And why don't you tell us a little about who he is?
November 16th, 2009 was a massive day for media and entertainment. We got the LA premiere of the Twilight Saga New Moon. We got a brand new YouTube channel that launched with a 63-second game review of the Atari 2600's Aquatic Adventures. Nearly 14 years and 300 million views later, the Gamer from Mars has evolved like a Pokemon, from gaming content to internet mysteries to full-scale documentarian. It's like somebody put Angry Video Game Nerd, a Wang video you could actually show your parents, an internet historian into a box and shook it to create a singularly unique blend of authoritative information and entertainment. But no one listening to a gentle alto criticizing an Atari game's breath meter could have predicted that he'd generate some of the most biting, provocative, and effective thumbnails that will ever exist on the platform. From the iconic Touched a Boy and last week's Lust for Minors to what's probably the greatest clickbait text of all time, drinking, abuse, and lies. Art has been blacklisted, demonetized, shadow banned, and he's still here. But the thing that really sets him apart is his unique understanding of the YouTube economy from both the creator and brand perspectives. It's how he's quietly built an impressive management company, bringing those two worlds together. We have a lot to talk about on both sides of that equation. But Art, if we were to drop a video tomorrow that's an exhaustive examination of the Gamer from Mars, what do we put for the thumbnail text?
Ooh, what would that be? See, the thing is
not easy.
I try to play myself as being the straight man in the story. So what would you even tell for my thumbnail?
Someday the hammer's got to come down and we're going to have to squeeze views out of you.
I think that's the thing, though. You have to wait for me to do something bad, and then I'll have the answer for you. I haven't done anything yet. At least nothing that the public knows about.
Well, you mentioned blacklisted, shadow banned, that sort of thing. Maybe it could be that. I'm actually not familiar with that portion of your story. What is that all about?
Was that like 2017, by the way? Do I have the errors right on that?
So I mean, there's been every couple months I deal with something. I mean, I have to upload videos multiple times before I get a green dollar sign on it. I could upload every month for any new video. But I guess the one that you might be talking about is when the Adpocalypse hit, and I lost, I think it was like 75% of my revenue overnight when YouTube pulled advertising dollars. Well, they demonetized any creator that their system said might be inappropriate, and I got hit really hard with that. And yeah, my channel was affected really bad, and I was in a really bad spot there. But yeah, that's when I started going and looking for sponsored messages on my content. And the companies out there that were providing sponsored messages, an alternative form of revenue from just AdSense, they were just really nefarious. There weren't really many of them out there. They kind of scammed people. They took 50% off the top without telling creators, stuff like that. And I got really frustrated. I spent some time working with a podcast agency because it seemed like the podcast space had their act together in terms of getting sponsorships for people, whereas the YouTube ecosystem, it was just the multi-channel network system fell apart at that point for the most part. Nice. They never actually got sponsorships for people. They were just useless middlemen. That was too much work for them. And I felt like the creator industry was in this lull in terms of being able to monetize content other than selling a crappy t-shirt with a logo slapped on it in AdSense. So that's when me and my brother started an agency called Nano Zebra, where we got creators sponsored messages, and started with just myself and my friends, and we grew that to working with hundreds of creators, dozens of brands. We have 15 employees, doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to mention something about when you made videos on the blacklist type thing. This was years ago. I remember so distinctly you presenting the graph of the AdSense, and it was not subtle. I mean, it was a switch being flipped off.
Yes.
You know, you have these really nice numbers. Everything is high up on the graph. And then overnight, it hits the floor. And it had to have been easily a 90% drop. I mean, it was crazy seeing that graph, and it just kind of seared into my brain for 5 years.
Yeah, the blacklist is a real thing on the internet. The Twitter files kind of revealed that it was true. Like any YouTuber knew it was real, but none of these tech companies would admit it. That was kind of a revelation that it was true, but I've seen it for years. The Adpocalypse happened. I got hit bad. A lot of political channels, like independent political commentary accounts, their monetization was cut by 100%. They just lost all monetization. They actually had people go and say, I would like to buy sponsored like advertiser space on this channel, and the people behind the scenes at YouTube told them no. That's how hardcore it was back when that happened back in the day. So yeah, that happens. There's an ongoing joke between me and my friends that you don't talk about the Vegas shooter on YouTube, because that will get your channel deleted. So there's like a lot of little things like that. I've seen it all. It's pretty startling how much censorship there is behind the scenes that no one will be upfront about and actually admit to. It's happening in the shadows. That's why they call it shadow banning.
I want to ask you definitely more about the business side of Nano Zebra and everything. But before we get to that, I want to go back a little bit more into the struggles that you have even to this day with monetization and stuff. What are the types of things that are causing that to happen? What are the types of, is it specific words? Is it topics in general? Is it a combination? Like, you've been through this for so many years now. Like, what can listeners learn from what you've learned over how to kind of navigate the types of things that are provocative enough that you're interested in, your audiences are interested in, but are also safe enough to have a YouTube channel and some AdSense?
I would say, if I'm being very negative about it, I would describe it as you're not allowed to talk about the human condition on YouTube without risking demonetization. You talk about death, you talk about tragedy, you talk about injuries, any cursing, any abuse, just stuff that the nightly news talks about. You're at risk getting demonetized from it. And it's now a game of security theater where creators will just upload the same video over and over again they'll just re-render it out. So it's a new video, like when they upload it. So it's not considered, YouTube could tell if it's the same exact file redone. So what people do is they just keep on rendering it out slightly differently. They'll just take a frame off the end, upload 5 versions, and each version will get monetized, not monetized, monetized, not monetized. And it's just like a game that has to be played. I describe it in a similar sense to after 9/11, when they started having the security at airports to make sure you don't sneak anything onto a plane. It's been shown time and time again that doesn't actually work. People could still sneak stuff on planes. It just wastes millions of hours of people's time, but they can't undo it. So they just keep on having this because it's a facade of safety. The monetization system on YouTube, the green $, yellow $sign system, it's just a facade of safety for brands. So they keep on spending on the platform. It could be, you could get around it fairly easily. It's just a pain in the neck. And then it hurts a lot of creators that aren't doing anything wrong, that just some random dude in Pakistan's reviewing the video and they don't like that there's 2 guys kissing in it or something. That's like another thing. Like if you have any homosexuality in a video, and then the team in the Middle East that is reviewing the videos, depending on the time of day, is the one reviewing it, it's much more likely to get demonetized than if it's like a heterosexual couple. So there's like all this like back end stuff that I've learned about just because I've had to deal with it so long. But yeah, it's a deep rabbit hole. I don't even know which way to go about it because there's 1,000 facets to it.
Yeah, and that's a really good point about the cultural differences globally that affect things as simple as the monetization on a video. A lot of people don't realize that the standards are applied differently in different regions, and in a way that makes a lot of sense. That the people in a region would know best what fits, but then you get that situation like you're talking about, where something that is not objectionable at all based on the terms and conditions and just, yeah, it's fine. And then somebody doesn't like it. There's a Karen somewhere who just doesn't think it's good for you. I mean, it's like that isn't, there's somebody you forgot to ask kind of thing, but it's like the little YouTube moderator in the corner.
From how I understand how it works is, I'll just automatically ding my own videos for a yellow $sign so I could get the review immediately while it's unlisted before I go live, so I don't have to deal with it. And then if there's a problem, I'll just re-upload it again, maybe change a thing if I need to in terms of, bleeping out something. But from what I understand, YouTube has a bot that goes through and it like points out the red areas of the video that are issue spots that the robot thinks might be a problem. And then someone at some company or some facility subbed out by YouTube to handle this stuff, a person will go through and look at those regions and then make a call on if it gets monetized. So just depending on, do you get the Singapore team? Do you get the Middle Eastern team? Do you get the American team reviewing it? That is sometimes the deciding factor on if the video will get a green or yellow $sign. And it's not even worth fighting because YouTube system's built to side with the original reviewer. So if it's gone yellow, they'll kind of stick to their guns unless it's like really flagrant in terms of it not being correct.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if, because I actually don't know the answer to this, do you know that if the YouTube creator's Twitter account is American? Because that seems like an avenue that a lot of creators hit up once they're having a problem, is they'll at that like YT creators or whatever account to then initiate another review. And I was just wondering if you knew whether or not that account or whoever's responsible for that is based in the US.
I have no idea. I don't even know how that account's run. I imagine there must be 100 different people on there. I don't know how they keep track of who's responding to what issues, because I know Twitter DMs are so horrendous. I don't know how they're able to like keep that up where they're talking with thousands of creators complaining. But I would encourage all YouTubers, even if you think Twitter's cancer, which I 100% agree with, have a Twitter account with a little bit of a following, just so if something happens on your YouTube channel, your account gets deleted, you're dealing with someone hacking into it, demonetization, you always have that to fall back on. Because if the appeal doesn't work on the YouTube side of things, your next step is that YouTube tech support on Twitter. It's like the go-to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny how weird Twitter is in a lot of ways. I mean, I've talked to Matt about this a few times, about how different of a platform it is. And that's one of the reasons is that it is the go-to place for media things for whatever reason. I don't know what it is, but like if you are involved in media in any capacity, whether you're like an ESPN talking head or a YouTuber, for whatever reason, Twitter is where you go to exchange information and to try to get help, complain about a thing. It's really odd. The reason I think it's extremely odd is something I've brought up. I don't think I've brought it up on the podcast, is that I have no growth on Twitter. And no matter what I do, if I have a banger tweet or I have no tweets, I lose like the same exact number of Twitter followers every single month. I could show you the Twitter analytics and I showed Matt some recent data in which there was a few months ago where I had like 600,000 impressions and I lost like 150 followers that month. There was another month where I had like 3.5 million impressions and I lost about 150 followers that month. It's like, how is that possible? Like, how is it possible that you could have, 3 million impressions or 500,000 and the results are exactly the same to the bottom line of the account? There's no other social media account where this is the case. None of them work this way except for Twitter. And sorry to go on a rant about Twitter. I don't know if this is interesting to anybody else, but my theory is that people treat Twitter like friend groups. They don't really treat Twitter as like following content creators. I think there's like a cognitive psychological difference between who people will follow on Twitter and who they will follow on like TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. For some reason, there's like a more intimate connection, I guess, between who you follow on Twitter, and it becomes more of like your online friend group than content creators that you like. Just throwing that out there. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody.
It's interesting because people in my personal life, no one uses Twitter. I don't know anyone, like friends and family. No one. Everyone knows of Twitter. Everyone sees on television, oh, this person tweeted out something. No one's actively on it. But at the same time, it's the 4th biggest website in the world. It's insane. It's so massive. What I don't understand about Twitter is it seems to only be catered towards people that have a following. Like I see these people that have no followers and they're just tweeting about their day and their opinions and they get 1 like. It's like, you're just talking to a void. It's not designed that way. Like Instagram or YouTube or, TikTok. TikTok's pretty good about sending content to people if you're trying, even if it's just 100 new viewers per TikTok. With Twitter, it seems like if you're not notable for some other reason besides going on Twitter, it's you're not getting any traction at all. Yeah, it's weird.
One thing that I've seen develop is small communities around a subject. So, for example, there's a neat little ecosystem around sports cards and Pokemon cards and stuff like that. I like old vintage non-sports cards, and so that's a slice of this already small community. But those guys all talk to each other, and some of it's personal and a lot of it is card related, obviously, but that's a neat functioning ecosystem. And I do see people break into it. Somebody new joins, and after a little while, they know enough people and they participate enough, and they're part of that circle. So I do think it works on small scale communities. And then you get these, like the Stan attacks over K-pop, where there's a dysfunctional community that is massive. So there does seem to be a little bit of a Dunbar's number kind of limit to communities that work on Twitter, but it's a specific purpose. I think everybody uses it for a very specific reason, whether it's to keep in touch with, friend group type stuff. That's kind of how I use a portion of mine. The other part that I use mine is just simply dumb things and cats. I like that. Like that is truly a purpose for that platform for me, is to look at cat pictures and look at exceedingly stupid things.
I get that.
It is pretty good for that. I don't know. I also think Facebook is better for groups though than Twitter. I don't know. We don't have to dissect the different social platforms. It's just something that I've been thinking about recently with Twitter, how different it is, and how I always thought the same thing about, well, because the other thing is that, the reason I joined Twitter to begin with was like, oh, I get to follow all these like celebrities and comedians. That's so neat. And then it turns out they're all really annoying. And I stopped following all of them. I don't like them, actually. And all they would post is just, their upcoming tour dates or like really smooth brain political takes that I don't need to hear.
I'm going to leak something here because, Kevin, you have to admit to everybody listening to this that you had an absolute ball for like 3 days straight just with memes about farting on folding metal chairs.
Yeah, but those are from Instagram. That wasn't from Twitter.
Oh,
yes, I did have there was an account that I follow on Instagram. I think it's called Dr. Jekyll or something like that. And this person just kept making memes about farting loudly on metal folding chairs. And it was like the funniest thing. I'm like, A, I'm an idiot, and B, this is really funny to an idiot like me. I don't know why. And this is the type of thing to now explain on a podcast no one will think is funny. But I assure you, these like farting metal chair memes with like I don't know what you call the art where it's like really hard art where it's like a skeleton with a gun and he's like smoking weed.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call that art, but it's like
you call it sold at a t-shirt booth at a county fair in 1993.
Yeah, it's like boardwalk art. It's like a boardwalk t-shirt, like blacklight poster art. Oh my God, that was such a tangent.
I don't know what you've been sipping, but you've got it all wrong. It's time to commit to the Leaf. We've embraced the smoothness and surprising pick-me-up that tea provides. I literally drink it all day long, nearly a gallon a day, and it powers me through research, script writing, and forums on websites that I refuse to name here. But we don't drink normie NPC tea. We drink cultured and refined anime tea from the Dragon's Treasure. Kevin still likes the gunpowder green called Space Cowboy, and I've sampled nearly 40 Dragon's Treasure teas at this point. Lately, I've been slamming black teas like Kentucky Bourbon and liquefied Berserk Despair. Scottish Breakfast is deep and peaty, and I smooth it over with Sebastian's Morning Earl Grey, which has the best vanilla cream taste I think I've ever had in a cup. Give me a pot of that with a hot meatball sub from Sal's Pizza and Brooks Barbecue Chicken to wash down my last meal on death row. I highly recommend the sampler packs. You'll want to try everything just like I did. I literally have not had one tea that I wouldn't be happy to reorder. The Dragon's Wings membership fuels new tea experimentation, and the Tea of the Month Club provides a regularly scheduled surprise. And when you order from the Dragon's Treasure using code CREATE, you'll get 10% off your order. That's 10% off using the code CREATE at thedragonstreasure.com. The link's in the description.
Art, let's talk about Nano Zebra. One of the questions that I really wanted to ask you that I don't think we've ever asked anybody on this podcast, and I think that you're a good person to ask, has to do with channel sustainability and or maybe even being an online creator and the sustainability of that in 2023, since you think about this all the time. Do you have a sense of some ballpark metrics or like low bars in order to clear for creators to say like, hey, if I can only get, 30,000 views per video and upload 3 of those a week or something like that. Do you have those types of like metrics in mind that people could say, hey, here's like a goal that I can aspire to then give myself a chance of quitting my day job or something like that?
It's so dependent on the genre you're in. If you're doing something specialty like finance, growing, consulting work, stuff like that, and you get 20,000 views a video, you have a really specific audience, and you're using the channel as a pipeline to get people to sign on to pay you a high hourly rate for consulting for businesses. You don't need that many views for that. But if you're making content that's super edgy and you're making animation content and you have to hire on other people to help you with it, you might need a couple hundred of thousands of views per video to make that sustainable. It really just depends. I know for my personal channel, I I say, as long as I get 100,000 views per video, I'm happy. Like, as long as I hit that 6-figure mark, you get a decent sponsored message rate on that, get enough views on AdSense, you're able to hire a writer and editor for it and clear a decent amount of money in my genre of content. But, it just completely depends. A makeup channel is a lot more sought after than a channel like mine, so they don't need as many views as me to make a good living.
Is that because the makeup channels just have endless brand deal opportunities with makeup companies?
That's exactly it. With a channel like mine, you got your VPNs and mobile apps, but there's really not that many companies that are looking for that male 18 to 35-year-old demographic that I have for my account. I'm assuming you have a similar demo for your channel as well.
Yep. Do you, Kevin?
Yep. It sounds about right.
So it's difficult because at NanoZebra, a lot of our creators that we're managing, they have that demographic similar to mine. And sometimes my team's like, man, can't you sign on like more cooking channels or something? It's like, listen, like I'm working with who I know. We work with a bunch of channels, of course, but it's a lot more easy for me to sign on someone that's in my space because that's who I'm associating with the most. But yeah, you have a channel like a fitness account, protein powders, protein bars, vitamin supplements, training courses, exercise equipment. And then on top of that stuff, you could also just sell them Squarespace, Keeps hair loss pills, Raycon earbuds for going to the gym. If you have something specialty that has stuff that's very tailored to the audience, you could get really high rates and CPMs for those sponsorships. And then on top of that, you still get all the other offers from the other companies because they're good with that. It also comes down to what sounds good to the person that's making the advertising buying decisions for a company. Time and time again, these companies come to us. We want van life channels. Why do you want a van life channel? I don't know. It's good. It's feel good content. It feels right if they get a sponsorship on that. Meanwhile, my videos will probably perform just as well as that van life channel, and the price might be a third of what the van life channel is trying to charge. But it's just a matter of sometimes it's not about performance. It's just what the person calling the shots feels the best, which is a terrible way of doing business. But that's a rant for another day. I really can't control that.
Do you have any advice to turn a math and science focused channel into a makeup channel?
It would be very difficult. Very difficult.
Do you have any actionable steps that can be taken in the next 24 hours?
Not that it would require some surgery and some medication, but
well, look, as you were talking, I was just thinking about how depressing it is actually that there is not like a laundry list of services surrounded around thinking. It's just like, oh, are you primarily interested in thinking? Good luck. There's a couple of things like brilliant.org for a long time has been a great supporter of EDU channels. A couple of other things like maybe Curiosity Stream or, Great Courses Plus. It's a really short list of basically products and services that exist to support and sponsor videos that are primarily kind of thinky. It's not really a thing.
In that case, it's a frustrating answer because it's going to take a lot of work. But sometimes I tell people, if you're able to create your own thing to sell, you never have to try to appease an advertiser ever again if you create your own business. And then, I goes back to, a person could have 15, 20,000 views of video, but the pipeline is at the end of that video telling people to do consulting work. Click the link down below, hire me for an hour. So I talked to this my father's personal trainer. I went to the gym with him the one day, and the guy starts talking to me a little bit about YouTube. And then I show you ask me whatever you want. So then he kind of opened up. He's like, I'm trying to start a channel, all this stuff. He hired one of these YouTube savants that have a YouTube channel with 1 million subs. They get 10,000 views a video. They're pretty much failures of YouTubers themselves, but they just tell everyone that they know what they're doing. And this guy paid him $7,000 to help him how to grow his channel. And it was just like basic advice. And I told him I would give that to you for free. I think I might be in the wrong business.
Kevin, this reminds me of something that I did as part of a presentation today. Kevin, have I talked about cargo cults on this podcast before?
No, I don't even remember you ever saying that word before. What is it?
Oh, really?
Cargo cults?
Yeah, cargo, like cargo ship. Melanesian cargo cults. This is sounds really obscure, but it makes perfect sense with what Art is saying here. In World War II, when supplies and ships, etc., were moving westward in the war against Japan, there were native tribes in Melanesia who had not encountered modernity in any real way, right? So they see the militaries using their islands for things like landing strips and whatever. They see the planes come and deliver food and all sorts of supplies. Drops are happening. And their rationale was extremely logical and very, very smart, that if we do what we see these people doing, then supplies will drop for us. So they made primitive landing strips with like bamboo on the sides to guide it. They had radios held up to their heads made out of coconuts. They mimicked everything that the military did and had all sort of a ritualistic commitment to doing this to get the supplies to drop. Well, they didn't drop. And that cargo cult mentality is like 99% of what I see in that space that Art is talking about, where it's like, here's a list of things. And I hear this from YouTube themselves. I did a couple weeks ago, things that come out of almost a brochure, where it's like, this guy does collabs. You should do collabs. Mr. Beast does this. You should do this. And it's this long list of things that could come from anywhere. Anybody could get them. And the whole rationale behind it is successful person does this, so you should do this. And the reality is that it does not work that way any better than a coconut radio is going to get medical supplies dropped out of the air.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry for that rant.
No.
The cargo cult thing is such a specific example that shows up everywhere. The self-help space, the YouTube space, anything that has gurus is almost always people doing cargo cult stuff.
I've learned in life, the answers to most things are very simple. It's just very hard to execute. With YouTube, it comes down to two things. And I told this to this personal trainer that was starting the channel. Watch time, click-through rate. That's all that matters. If you have a lot of people clicking on your video and they're watching it all the way through, you'll get more views. That's all it takes. But how do I do that? Well, that's the hard part. You're going to have to figure that one out on your own. And no one's going to be able to. You can't just hire someone that's going to tell you, oh, like here's what you have to do to edit your videos differently. I could do that for somebody, but even me, I'm not the best at it. I get 200,000 to 300,000 views a video. I'm not getting Mr. Beast numbers. He knows more than me. But anyone that is very knowledgeable about that stuff, they're not sitting there doing consulting work. They're doing it and making their own YouTube channel, making millions of dollars. Like if you actually are talented, you're doing it yourself. Don't believe that someone's going to be able to sell you magic beans and you're going to be able to grow a YouTube channel from them.
Well, and this is
it's so true.
This exact phenomena is everywhere. It's not like a YouTube unique thing. I remember years ago, I was really, really interested in TV writing. And I bought and read a whole bunch of books on how to write, screenplays for TV. And I remember talking to an actual TV writer who I happened to have the opportunity to speak with. My brother is in the TV industry. It's not like I randomly bumped into a TV.
You made it sound so.
I know.
sketchy.
It sounds like I met in a dark alley.
A guy your brother knows.
I know. It's not like there was.
You're like, well, I was in the Craigslist casual encounter section before they banned it.
Exactly. And after I finished him off, then I got to talking about what does he do for a living, and it turns out he was a TV writer. Yeah, that's not how it happened.
Which, ironically, what you described probably is the best way to succeed in TV.
That's a different podcast, but. And it was actually not a he, it was a she. And so when I was asking her about these books, and I'm like, I read this person's book and this person's book, this is the exact same thing she said. Because I asked her, I was like, would you ever write a book on how to write TV shows? And she's like an incredibly successful writer. Her husband was an incredibly successful writer. And that was what she said. She was like, yeah, but it doesn't pay that well. I wouldn't make hardly any money off of that book. Not anywhere in comparison to the amount of money I would make just actually writing TV shows. Because guess what? Right. That pays a lot of money. And, the
thing that she's good at, the thing that she's demonstrably amazing at,
pays her really well. So it's the same exact thing. It's like, well, the YouTuber's making really good money making YouTube videos. They don't need to create that, self-help guru thing. And it also goes back to that famous, what is that phrase that's like those who can't do teach? Yeah. Those who can't do teach, which isn't always
some
true.
People who are,
it's not always true.
No, there's some people who sincerely, like Kevin, you and I have talked about this, that we sincerely want to, give some resources to people that will help them. This podcast is one of those things. Sure. We couldn't, this wouldn't pay a whole lot of bills, right? And we're okay with that sacrifice on time because we really truly want to do it. But you gotta want to. You have to really want to write that book or do the volunteering kind of thing. And all. Most people just want to do the thing they're really, really good at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We want to help you make something and mean something. And we say that phrase all the time because when you're making something and you know it means something, even if it's just to you, that's when you feel pretty good about what you're creating. The support for the Create Unknown in recent weeks has been incredible. Animators, artists, musicians, YouTubers, aspiring filmmakers, comedians, it is crazy how talented everybody in this community is. Consider joining the Create Unknown Patreon. Every dollar that comes through goes straight into the podcast and its community. That means more highlights videos. It means a big Minecraft project that's on the way. And eventually we'd like to manufacture custom piss bottles so you never have to leave your battle station. And being a patron unlocks participation in all of our live recordings. You've seen the roster of guests we've had. Having access to their minds is a unique opportunity. You can go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown or click the link that's in the description. Every little bit helps and your support means absolutely everything to us. Patreon.com/thecreateunknown, links in the description. We appreciate you, Space Cowboys.
Well, Art, one of the things that you've gotten really good at is having gigantic muscles. And did you like that transition? Yeah. That was pretty good. It's pretty good.
That was outstanding.
And I want to set this up with the tweet that started it all because
are you going to show it on the screen? For when it goes live?
Episode chat if you can.
I printed it out on a piece of paper.
Okay.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is the most boomer thing possible. I know, because
I'm 100 years old. I printed it out.
Yeah. Do you want to send it to me on the Usenet on AOL, whatever the keyword is?
I'm sure Meme Bastard already posted it.
Yeah, I know. Charles will post it.
He says he's on it.
He's on it. So everybody listening can see it. It was a tweet back on December 1st, 2022 that has at this point, meager 103,000 likes to it. So it went, a little bit viral.
That's a big one.
Yeah. So, Art, you wrote about a meme picture. It says, this meme picture of me from 5 years ago is being spread around again. What people don't realize is all the mockery from it spurred me to start going to the gym 6 days a week, lose 50 pounds, and get a better haircut. LOL. And the meme is an old picture of you with someone leaving a comment that says, you look like the human version of Mark Zuckerberg. Now, let me say that long-time listeners of the Create Unknown, like the real hardcores who listened to the Austin Evans episode a couple years ago, will know that this exact same thing happened to Austin Evans. Like almost exactly, in which people were ripping on, I believe it was specifically his haircut, I think. But that was part of it. And it woke him up to the fact that, like, hey, my appearance is being judged by others and the look of it is in my control. So I'm going to do something about it. And obviously you have as well, to fantastic results. as this picture with you with your shirt off, I think has been spread by, certain thirsty types I've seen on the internet.
Yeah, you can't fake that one.
No. So why don't you talk about how, cyberbullying made you healthier?
Sure. So I think it was probably a similar era to when the Adpocalypse happened and my revenue got chopped by 75%. Just kind of a low point in my life, I think. I was probably, 22 at the time. I just kind of banked everything on the YouTube channel, and I just didn't really leave my house much. Never really, figured out the whole fitness thing, eating right. It was never framed to me in the proper way growing up. It was always just, do sports with others. And it was just a bunch of stuff that I didn't care about. And then I just realized I have to do something about this. The comments started rolling in. The Mark Zuckerberg one is the common meme that got spread around. It got millions of views across Instagram, Reddit. It was on the front page of Reddit back in the day. Like, that was really people mocking your appearance on every single platform. And also you saying, yeah, I agree, I don't look good. It's a sobering experience that you have to do something about it. So at that point, I started going to the gym. Didn't really know what I was doing, but just kept at it. I went every single day. I started looking into what do I have to do to get in better shape in terms of diet. It started off simple, just calorie counting. That's what it comes down to. Same thing with everyone has these secrets of growing a YouTube channel, and it just comes down to two simple metrics. For losing weight, it comes down to being in a calorie deficit. Every other diet that works, it's because you're in a calorie deficit. Every diet that fails, it's because you're in a caloric surplus. I just cut out all the other nonsense, and I realized as long as I'm getting enough protein to build muscle optimally, and then also I'm in a calorie deficit every day, weighing all my food, checking all my meals, figuring out the ways that I could eat the most food for the least amount of calories, giant smoothies, switch out, sugar for 0-calorie sweeteners, stuff like that. Increase the fiber intake, lots of fruits and vegetables. I just was able to slowly but surely lose weight. Hit plateaus at points, but it was never a problem because I continuously went to the gym and built muscle that entire time, but also lost 10 pounds here, plateaued. Okay, let me lose another 10 pounds. And then at some point after doing that for 4 years, I just went to the gym and took my shirt off in front of the mirror, and I saw a visible six-pack, and it was a bizarre experience that it wasn't overnight. It wasn't even over months. It was the course of years of me just relentlessly following a diet and fitness regimen that I was able to achieve those goals and just kind of move up the ranks to being, I don't know if I'm the top 1% of physiques in the world at this point, but I'm pretty high up there. And I went from being a chubby guy.
How long was it before you started to feel better and be able to do more, like get more time out of your days, probably focus better, like the non-physical stuff? When did that begin to kick in?
I would say...
And how also?
I would say I still felt bad at the beginning of doing it, but at least I was working towards a goal. For me, I'm not the kind of person that shuts down and just shells up and gets depressed about it. I was super depressed, but I realized I'm not going to just take some medication or something to make me feel better. I know what's wrong with me. I know what I have to do to resolve it. It's going to be a very tough road, whether it be starting up my business or going to the gym and losing weight. But it was just one day at a time. I crawled myself out of the ditch I was in. That's how I describe it. And it wasn't instantaneous. I just slowly tried to improve myself in every aspect of my life. And over the course of 4 or 5 years, I could look back and I look at myself now. And it's like, damn, I actually accomplished what I set out to do those 5 years ago. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no help. No one told me anything. I mean, I had people around me gaslighting me saying I looked fine. I didn't look fine. I looked terrible. My face was all puffy. I was in really bad shape. I felt terrible. I had to take matters into my own hands, and that's what I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny how people being supportive of you can really be harmful. It sounds It sounds counterintuitive, and I think that we, for the most part, really emphasize being like really supportive all the time of people's decisions. Oh, this is going to sound so bad, but it's true. It's like not all of them, not all of the decisions. Yeah. Like it's actually really, really helpful sometimes for somebody to say, hey, what you're doing sucks and you should do something else differently. And it's not because I don't love you. It's not because there's something wrong with the way I see you. It's just that you will be happier and in a better place if
you can do better.
If you can do better. You have more potential within you to live better. It's not you don't just have to stay the way that you are and like, oh, you're great like that. It's like, yeah, maybe not.
That's kind of what I realized of these people around me. They're not, it's not like they meant malice, but I was stuck in my own head and I had to get out of it. And none of the advice that's given traditionally was working for me. So what did I do? I went on the internet and I just digged into it. And I realized all these celebrities I always saw, that they got jacked in 8 months. They went from fat to incredibly fit. And every single one of them, I work out twice a day. I'm eating chicken, broccoli, rice for every meal. That's nonsense. Okay. First of all, you don't get jacked in 8 months. That's not how that works. Those people are on steroids. That's how they're doing it, but they're not allowed to say that because the movie studio would be mad at them because they're trying to have this squeaky clean image. So they come up with this narrative that they are working out 2 days a week, which is way too much. You're going to hurt yourself and become super fatigued. You should not work out more than 5 or 6 days a week, once a day. And then on top of that, you don't want to just eat chicken, broccoli, rice because you're not getting all your nutrients from that. You need to switch out different vegetables, different fruit sources, different sort of carbohydrates, different meats. You want to have a variety of foods, especially if you're in a calorie deficit. Like I learned all this stuff and I realized how everything is portrayed of how someone gets in shape, loses weight. It's all nonsense. It's actually very simple. Calorie deficit, eat protein, good variety of foods, and slowly but surely, you'll get in better shape. How far you could get, that comes down to genetics. Unfortunately, that's out of people's control, but everyone can do better.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like a running theme that all these huge important things that there are entire industries surrounding. You can express everything that somebody needs to know on a Post-it note. And it really is that simple. It's very hard to do, but the basics of it are really simple. How does that kind of phenomenon develop? Because you'd think that most people would hear a thing like this and say, God, that's such a relief that it's within my grasp. It's not all that complex. I don't need to do 6 months of study to have, to know how to do this thing. I can just really start in a sensible way. But nobody does that. They're obsessed with the overcomplication of it, whether it is fitness or YouTube. Why don't they just say, hey, if it's this simple, I'll commit to that and get better at it as time goes on?
People want a secret. People want the secret to, this is how you unlock it. What I'm telling people to do to lose weight, rigorously go to the gym almost every single day, bust your butt trying to lift increasingly heavy weights, getting sore constantly, and then going home, drinking protein shakes, chicken breast, lean meats, don't eat any fast food, weigh all your food and putting it into a calorie counter app. That takes a lot of effort. I had to change my lifestyle where I gamified it for myself, where it was, I figured out this protein bar. It actually tastes half decent and it has this much protein in it. Therefore, I could be like more full. I could do this giant smoothie with just tons of fruit, non-fat Greek yogurt, cashew milk, and I drink it all and it's only 350 calories and has tons of, and then I put a thing of protein powder in as well. And my stomach's full. And I have no more room in my stomach, but I'm still hungry. But that satiation allows me to go to bed and not be hungry. So I could be in a 750 calorie deficit for the day. And then you just do that on repeat for years. I tell that to someone, they're already running, they're already walking out the door. It's but I take it to an extreme. And I don't tell people that they have to do what I do. It's a bit much. But I do encourage everyone, they should go to the gym, do some strength training for their entire body once or twice a week, and try to cut out the fast foods, be mindful of how many calories are in different things. And everyone can make a positive change in their life and be a bit more healthy. But everyone's just so focused on the extreme transformation. You don't need an extreme transformation. It's nice, it's novel, it's fun when you see one, but man, it's a lot of work. I had an extreme transformation, and most people aren't going to follow through with that. And I don't judge them for it. I took it to an extreme.
Mm-hmm. Well, but before we started recording, you went on like a little bit of a Planet Fitness
I love this
rant. Yeah. So catch up now that we are recording, catch up everybody on your Planet Fitness rant, and then explain to me what a lunk alarm is.
Oh, absolutely. So I go to Planet Fitness, and I've always gone since day one, since I started going to the gym 5 years ago. I got a Planet Fitness membership. And everyone tells me to this very day, oh man, you go to Planet Fitness, that place sucks. There's YouTube videos talking about how terrible it is. And it's all a genius ploy. And you could actually scam it to get the best deal in the entire world if you actually use your membership. So to kind of explain this, Planet Fitness relies on people that don't go to the gym. Over 90% of people that have a Planet Fitness membership, they do not show up. But what happens is people sign up for Planet Fitness, New Year's resolution time. They connect their account to a phone number. No, sorry. They connect their account to a credit card and a bank account. And then you think people have a problem unsubscribing from Netflix when they're not using it. Imagine trying to unsubscribe from a gym membership. You have to go in there and basically say, listen, I admit that I failed. And people aren't willing to do that. So everyone, instead of not paying for Planet Fitness, they just continue paying every single month because they say, oh man, I'm going to go back next month. I'm going to do it. I need to start going. So they're relying on the psychology of admitting failure if you stop paying for Planet Fitness. And then you have people like me that come to the gym every single day, and I get a gym membership for $20, and they lose money on me. People that actually go to Planet Fitness, they're not making any money on. In fact, they're just taking up space.
They're screwing up their business model. Literally. They're screwing up their business model by using Planet Fitness.
They purposely do things to avoid people like me from showing up to the gym. Firstly, they have a pizza day. Once a week, they'll have a day where, or maybe it's once a month, I forget, where they'll serve pizza. And that this pisses off gym goers to no end, like bodybuilders and stuff. They're disgusted by this concept. I don't blame them. And the pizza looks disgusting. I've never had it when I see it there.
Wait, how does the pizza thing work? Is it free?
They just have free pizza. It's just like they get a couple boxes of pizza one night a week, and then they just put it out on a table, and it doesn't look appetizing.
You just get one slice, or like as much as you want?
You could take whatever you want to. I've never.
Oh, sweet.
I've never taken it. It doesn't look very good after a hard workout.
So could you make the Planet Fitness membership work for 10 or 20 a month if you just did it to eat pizza 4 times a month?
It's a pizza subscription.
It is a possibility.
This is my question. Can you get $35 of pizza value out of a $20 gym membership?
That's the question, though. Are you willing to just
pizza subscription?
Do you have enough shame to be the man that goes into Planet Fitness, takes pizza, and leave every week?
Yeah. You can even make your own T-shirt that says "I'm just here for the pizza," and you just walk in every Tuesday or whatever it is, and just house a huge pie to your dome, and just walk out and burp.
So they do that. On top of that, they have a lot of machines. They don't have. They don't have very big dumbbells. They go up to, at mine, 75 pounds, which is more than enough. It's like, if you're using proper form, just increase your reps. So I just am at the max, and I just keep on doing more reps for each set. So that's not even that much of an issue. It's probably better for you, actually. And then they'll also have the lunk alarm. So if you grunt or do anything, hypothetically speaking, they don't often do it, but there's a little light on the wall that will make a bunch of sounds and embarrass you if you make too much noise while you're working out. And they call those people lunks, and they don't want them there.
This is a real thing?
Most Planet Fitnesses don't actually use them. I recall it was years before I ever heard it go off, and then it started going off a couple times for a couple months, and then it stopped going off again. So I kind of feel like there was like a new employee that was using it, and then the employee was told to knock it off, possibly. For the most part, it's more of just a symbol of what Planet Fitness is that repulses avid gym goers from showing up.
And what's the idea? Is it to call out people who are taking it too seriously? I mean, what's the theory behind this?
The branding that they go with is saying that that's intimidation, but they call it gym intimidation or something. They have their own catchy slogan for it. Basically, you're some random person off the street that's never been to the gym before. You go into a regular bodybuilder gym. It's just all these jacked up guys on steroids that are grunting, screaming, doing benching insane amounts of weight. It makes a new person uncomfortable, and they want to make the gym more accommodating. But the fact is, they're not doing it for that reason. They're doing it because they don't want the steroided out guy coming to the gym because they lose money on that person because he actually shows up.
This is your thumbnail text, by the way. It is something like Planet Fitness loathes him. So, but it needs to be a better word than loathes. It's got to be damning.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is people know this, but no one's quite articulated it the way I have. They just trash Planet Fitness. This is terrible. They're trying to take advantage of people and make them pay, and then they're not going to show up. The way I see it is, why don't you be the one that takes advantage of it? Like these other gyms, they charge $50 a month. This one's charging $10 for the basic membership that gets you everything. I pay a little extra so I could, I have access to different locations if I travel or something, and I get like the massage chairs, but $10 a month to go to the gym. And if you go 6 days a week, that's like, like 50 cents a session or something. It's insane. It's like the best price ever. So I'm telling everyone, go to Planet Fitness and actually show up. That's my moral of the story.
Yeah. Isn't their slogan the judgment-free zone?
Yeah. It's they have Tootsie Rolls on the front counter. Like they just do all these things. It's all psychological to mess with people because they don't want the lunks coming into the gym.
Yeah. It's so funny because yes, from my perspective, I've never gone in, but I've seen it from the outside, and it says like judgment-free zone outside on the window or whatever, or beneath the sign. And that always read to me as like, essentially what you're suggesting. Like, this is not the place for gym rats. It's not going to be intimidating. No matter your body shape or how experienced you are with gyms, you can come into this one and no one's going to make fun of you. You should feel comfortable here. And to me, that always came across as like, oh, that's nice. I really like that. That makes a lot of sense. That's there's a market for that as being like not the intimidating gym. It's like the gym for people who are scared of gyms. Like that makes sense. The flip side of that you're describing is so interesting to me because it's actually, it's
nefarious.
It is nefarious in the way that it works kind of by taking advantage of the people who don't really like going to the gym. That's who they want. They want you to not go. So it's like a secret evil plan.
I've seen the cycle play out year after year. I'm one of the gym rats that loathes New Year's resolution time. But you go in there on January 2nd. It's just it's just people on treadmills texting on their phone, walking at 3 miles per hour. Like that's what these people like. So when they get a new person in there, they're not really I guess they might have some person to help instruct people. I don't really see them that often. A person that doesn't know how to get in shape, they just get a gym membership. They see this equipment, they don't know how to use it. They just jump on a treadmill. They're not going at a good pace. They're not getting their heart rate up. They're just walking, texting on their phone. They might burn 300 calories walking for an hour, leave, immediately go home and eat something that has 300 calories in it, negating the workout. And then they'll go for a month and then quit. And then they'll just keep on paying for the membership. I've seen that every year. That's what happens. You go in there on January 2nd, every single treadmill pretty much. And they have tons of treadmills. Every other gym, there's some treadmills. Planet Fitness is half treadmills and elliptical machines. Like that's their bread and butter because it's just people that don't know how to go to the gym. I don't know, just do some cardio.
for a week and then never show up again, but don't cancel.
Honestly, I was kind of like that when I started. I would do an hour of cardio on the elliptical. Admittedly, I got a better workout. I didn't walk. I wasn't going super slow. I actually got my heart rate up. But then after that, just try to figure out these machines, doing some sets on those. But I just kept on watching YouTube videos on how to do it and just slowly but surely figured it out. And recently I had some friends in and I brought them to the gym with me. And I'm like, okay, we're going to do some dumbbell presses. And I give them really light weights. I'm like, okay, this is easy. And then they couldn't balance it. I'm like, oh shoot. Yeah, I forgot. Like this seems easy to me, but it's because I slowly learned how to do it over 5 years. from scratch by yourself going into a gym, it's hard. I get it. I was there. It's probably is best to get a personal trainer or someone at least to kind of give you a rundown and explain how to do all the workouts and pieces of equipment so you understand that basic level of it. And then you go from there, and hopefully you get obsessed and then you start getting into good shape.
So this whole topic, for the people who were not in the Discord in the few minutes before we started recording, this all came up because we were talking about Blockbuster Video and how their business was really about late fees. That's where their money came from. This cannot be the only example. Is there anything else that you can think of that has this really strange backdoor revenue? There's got to be more.
I've talked to a chef before, and he said most of the revenue comes from booze. Like a restaurant,
that's true. Yeah, no, I worked in restaurants forever. Yeah, the food. So the reason for that is twofold. One, food goes bad. So no matter what, you're unless you're super busy all the time and you're amazing at ordering, which some restaurants are, especially restaurants that like the best restaurants, they will turn over the food. There's not a lot of food waste. A lot of restaurants have a lot of food waste. If anyone has ever watched Kitchen Nightmares and you see all of the freaking crap that gets thrown away, that Gordon throws away, yes, that's what most restaurants are like. So you're losing money on the food because it goes bad. And then also the margin is thin on food. So you can't mark up food that much. I mean, think about you go to the grocery store and you buy all of the ingredients to make like chicken Parmesan. It's not cheap. I mean, you buy the mozzarella, you buy the chicken breast, you buy the sauce. I mean, whatever. It adds up. But with booze, you have two things. One, booze does not go bad. Wine will go bad if it's open. You know, a bottle of wine will go bad after a few days, but booze will not go bad. Which is why sometimes if you go into a weird bar, you should really look in your drink to see if there are any flies in there, because that's a thing that will happen. A lot of, if you order something that they haven't poured a lot of, you could have some fruit flies dead in your, whiskey sour or whatever. And then the other thing is the markup on booze is freaking astronomical. It's astronomical. I mean, and you could do the same thing that you do. Just go into a liquor store, buy a bottle of booze, and imagine charging like $8 per shot of that thing. You made a lot of money on that bottle. So, and that's buying it at retail. They get the thing at cost. So, you're right. Really, it's liquor, and you know what else they make a ton of money on? Soda.
Yeah.
Like soft drink sales. Like you buy you pay $2 for a freaking Coke, and that cost them like 5 cents to pour that Coke.
I mean, I've seen someone argue against that, and they say that the upkeep of the machine to serve it actually brings the price up to quite a bit more than.
It can't be significant.
You got to think about it though.
You
also get free refills on soft drinks as well.
In some places, not in good restaurants. Really? They'll charge you.
Ooh.
What restaurant?
Oh, Kevin's eating at the Michelin-starred restaurants.
Oh, they'll bang you left and right.
I don't think I've ever been to a restaurant that charged me for my second Diet Coke in my life.
I did. We were talking just last week about one that Kevin and I both went to, and it's just an Italian restaurant on a main street in a small town, and I didn't think twice about it. And when I got the bill, I had 3 Diet Cokes on there, and I was incensed. I ended up paying like $9 for Diet Coke that day. I would have like wrung the sweat out of my clothes into a cup and drank that before I paid $9 for Diet Coke.
Yeah, that's a bit much, but that's
it's a racket.
I think we lost him on that one.
It's a Diet Coke racket. It's all mafia.
No, but I feel like the mindset that I mean, really, you had the same kind of path with YouTube as you did with the working out stuff. Like, you clearly started it. You were a grinder on it. You looked for ways to improve on it, because like, seriously, starting with that Atari game review, that was really good.
Thank you.
It was a 60-second rundown where, and it's so weird to say because it's ancient, right? But you're like, here's the game. Here's what makes it hard to play. Here's a thing that is really kind of dumb. I'm still having a good time. Give it a go. That's a legitimate video, you know? And going from that to where you're doing like a 90-minute. How long was the Chris Chan documentary?
5 hours altogether, all 4 parts.
Yeah. As I say, I thought they were full length, like hour plus for each one.
Yeah, the first one was 1 hour, and the others were 90 minutes a piece, I think, or maybe 2 or 1 hour. I don't know. I'd have to. It came out to 5 hours altogether when you watched them all through. That was that was
an undertaking.
I met Chris Chan before the pandemic, and it took me the entire pandemic to take that footage of me hanging out with Chris for the weekend and creating this massive documentary around it. That was, I watched through that probably 8 times, like just to refine it over and over again. That was pretty exhausting.
Yeah, that was a huge project that, I think I remember you tweeting just what you just said now. It's like, I'm taking a long time to do this because it's just, there's a lot there, and this is not a video you just churn out. But it's fascinating to me that you can start in one place and then come up with something that is on the scale of a Netflix series in roughly a 10-year period. And that's not even 10 years of you being an adult.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I always tell people of, how are you so successful so young? You have to think about it. A lot of people, they'll go to high school, party, go to college, party, and then they get out of college at, 21, 22, and now they start. I started when I was 14 years old, and this is all I've ever done. I think that was also a problem when I was 22 and I was at my lowest point. I hadn't experienced life. I just sat in my basement grinding away at like this YouTube thing. And, from there, I kind of refined it and said, okay, well, it can't just all be YouTube. You got to, work on yourself a bit. And then it leads me to a point now where I just have this encyclopedia in my head of knowledge about this space. And I'm able to use that to make connections, talk with people, get sponsorship opportunities for others, come up with ideas. Scheming up like 5 other things behind the scenes right now. I can't stop. At some point I'm going to have to, because there's not enough hours in the day. But in the meantime, I'll try to take over the world.
We caught you at a perfectly balanced point, didn't we? Because I just kind of crunched the basics in my head here, and you've had a YouTube life that's as long as your non-YouTube life, haven't you?
Yeah.
You're just about at that point.
This is my birthday today, so I'm 28 years old.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
So,
that's awesome.
So I started when I was 14. I'm 28 now, 14 times 2. Yeah, I'm like officially halfway, not halfway, anywhere. Half of my life has been just YouTube. More of my life that I remember has been on YouTube than not.
Mm-hmm.
And that ratio is only going to be skewed further to the YouTube side now.
Yep. I have no plans on stopping.
So yesterday was the last day where YouTube was not the majority of your life.
It's a weird thing to think about.
Well, Matt and I have been talking a little bit of a spoiler alert for an upcoming Vsauce 2 video, but something that we've been looking into has to do with a little bit of a paradox that I see forming that you sort of touched on with sort of modern success on YouTube and how people interact. That's kind of a long-winded way of saying, like, people are lonelier than ever right now. The data shows this. What you were saying was that in order to essentially get as successful as you are, you're pretty isolated. That you didn't have this kind of robust party animal lifestyle, hanging out with all these friends, going to Cancun, hanging out on the banana boat. I don't know, whatever people do. You didn't do that. You have been grinding away, which is part of how you become successful. So there is this weird balance of like, well, I really want to be successful. Okay, well, in order to do that, you kind of have to be isolated and just work all the time. So you have mentioned so far, or at least touched on a little bit, this idea of trying to balance out your lifestyle a little bit. So talk about that a little bit more. I'd like to hear about like what you're doing to try to be healthier as far as your social connections and not being so, hunkered down all the time as a workaholic.
Sure. So for the longest time, it's kind of hard to describe because people don't believe it when I tell them I was very antisocial. Like it doesn't come across now. Maybe I was never that way, and it came out of me because of, how I was raised and what I decided to do with YouTube and just spend my time on the internet. But it was just this obsession of sitting on the computer. I don't need other people. I could just make these YouTube videos, and that's all that really matters. That was my mindset. I didn't have a teenage experience. It was just, I don't have any friends at school. Just go home, make YouTube videos. That's all I need. Very cancerous. I admit that. It was very toxic way of looking at things, but that's how I operated. And now as an adult in my later 20s now, officially, I realized that I have the insular part of my life, which would be YouTube to some extent, but I have a team behind me now. I have a writer and editor. So, I have other people that I'm interacting with more often. I try to do content like Chris Chan and other things. And I'm working with my Nano Zebra agency. So I'm talking with people, going to events. That was another thing. Back in the day, my mindset was, why go to VidCon? I could take that $3,000 the VidCon trip will cost me and just put that into YouTube videos. That's a much better investment. That is true. Like, I will say that is true, but it's good to get out sometimes and interact with other YouTubers and build up those connections, because it's good to have people in your corner. And I've just taken the approach of, hey, I want to meet new people. I don't expect anything out of them. That's the other thing. If I can work with them at some point, that's great. But just meeting a new person, being able to talk with them, learn something from them, that's all I need. So I have that approach. Go out of my comfort zone. If something isn't shady or nefarious, I don't say no to it. If it's a social experience, I've never been drunk before. I've never been high. I don't do any of that stuff, but I will go to parties and I'll take one beer and pretend to drink it throughout the night. So I try to do that stuff. And I get my alone time still working on my videos and my projects, a lot of it, and also going to the gym. That's a very meditative experience to me. I think a lot of people don't see it that way, but I think it's a good way of approaching it if you want to get in a mindset where you want to go to the gym, which is, I'm going to go here. I don't have my glasses on. I don't have contacts in. I have noise canceling earbuds in. I don't make eye contact with anyone. In my mind, all that matters is getting as the workout in. And my mind works in a way where it's talking nonstop. It just goes nonstop. And to drown it out, I need to listen to music and podcasts constantly. And the only time I get full clarity in my life now is when I'm on that last rep of a set at the gym and I'm trying to push out, that dumbbell press one more time. That's the only time in my life that the head clears and nothing else is in there except for, I need to lift this heavy thing one more time. So I find that calms me quite a bit. And with that, I don't watch TV. I don't play video games. I don't watch movies anymore by myself. All of that stuff, anything like recreational, any sort of things that I do for fun, it's with other people. My alone time is for work in the gym and, just maybe making a cup of coffee in the morning. Besides that, when I'm doing something for fun, recreational, as I said, stuff like that, it's with other people in a social setting. And I've kind of been able to make a partition in my life where the work stuff, the stuff for self-improvement, the stuff to make me the best I can, that's the stuff I do on my own. And then for fun, I try to do it with others. That's the way I think about it, if that makes sense. I've never really articulated that out loud before, but I'm trying my best.
No, that's good. That's why we ask the questions. That's why you enter the Create Unknown, Art, is so that we can force you to articulate intuitive feelings that you've had. And I think I'm really glad that you did, because a lot of that makes sense.
Yeah, it was great.
And I think that a lot of people could probably benefit from hearing your story, because it's really easy to get sort of mired in whatever project that you're on, and day after day after day, just being alone in it. And then at the end of years of that, you come up for air and you realize, wow, there's nobody around. Like I probably should have some sort of relationships with other people. That might be a healthy element to add to my life. But so it sounds like you're doing better than ever with everything. I did want to ask you one final question that we like to ask all of our guests that I'm interested in hearing. I'm always interested in hearing your everyone's response, but particularly interested in yours. So here's the question. Especially interested, yeah. The question is this: what makes an interesting person?
What makes an interesting person? Someone that's done something that's unusual, I guess. Right? I think not everyone's interesting. I'm not going to go that far, but I've learned in my life to appreciate people that might be bad, might be nefarious individuals. Even someone that's kind of a scumbag, that's an interesting person. You got to keep them at a distance, make sure that they don't screw you over. But I could appreciate, someone that's cunning, someone that's dysfunctional. I try to learn from that and not to go down the path that they've gone down. But I tend to go the route of finding the worst people as the most interesting in my life. Or the most dysfunctional, I should say. I think it's what makes somebody interesting. If you want a unique answer to that question, and it's dysfunction. Someone that's dysfunctional is interesting.
The anti-hero.
Kevin, I don't think anybody's gone down that path, have they? With that question.
No. See.
Yeah, and I like Art. I like you saying dysfunctional because even really successful good people deviate from the mean sufficiently. They are dysfunctional in a way. That's a really neat way to look at it because that can go on both sides of the judgment.
Yeah. I mean, I'm dysfunctional a lot of ways. I think that I've been able to take my brain and how it works and use it to its best ability to, be successful, whether it be with, growing a company, getting subscribers, getting in good shape, making money. I'm able to do that stuff with it, and I'm fortunate enough. But, there's a dark side to it. And I experienced that dark side when I was a shut-in for all those years. I wasn't a full shut-in. I that's overstating it. But there's definitely there's a tendency to go down the antisocial rabbit hole. And just, there's years where I just spent my time on 4chan and internet forums and just looking at YouTube videos. Wasn't good, but it just made me who I am. And I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for, being in those ruts at point in my life.
Yeah. Adversity and hardship, those things help. What is your phrase, Matt? Pain. What is it?
Hurt, hate, and be happy.
There you
go. But qualifying that the hate is like dissatisfaction with something. It's not hating people. It's like Art explaining, I wasn't happy with my physique and I didn't feel good. So I'm going to have like contempt for that bad state and do the things I need to do to be in a good state. And when you do that kind of committed repetition and commitment with a thing like that, you are going to experience pain, whether it's physical from the gym or whether it's putting yourself out there in relationships and you get dumped and it's horrible pain, whatever. You find the dissatisfaction, you do something about it, you inevitably struggle with it, and wow, at the end of it, are you happy? You are just shockingly satisfied and happy with yourself.
Yeah. Hurt, hate, and be happy. All right, everyone. Check out Art's channel, The Gamer from Mars. Look out for some thumbnail texts such as "She ate grass," or "They stole his blood," or perhaps even "He beat up kids." I didn't even tell you how much I love that Art, and I have for years. It is so entertaining. It puts a smile on my face. I love how you boil down kind of like the WTF factor of the video.
Yeah.
You boil it down into like 3 words and then blow up those 3 words on the thumbnail. That is a skill, my friend. There's an art to that.
Yeah. My favorite part about it is there's people that don't think I'm in on the joke. Like that's the thing that always gets me is that there's people that think like, does he not know his thumbnails are ridiculous? It's like, of course I do. I do it because I get views on it. What do you think?
I made them. Of course I know. They're my thumbnails.
You know what the thumb is, Kevin? His thumbs are the Everclear of thumbnails. distilled to being like 95% straight booze.
Yeah. 150 proof thumbnails. All right. Thanks, Art. Thanks all of our patrons for hanging out with us. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown. We would love to have you there. We'll be back next week for a dubiously intimate one-on-one podcast with just Matt and myself. Right. And until then, we will see you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We make this show with the support of our patrons. 100% of that goes directly to keeping episodes going every week, and the recent support has been amazing. Sidpoke, NRM, Venture Addicts, Weezergood, you all really do make this show happen. Thank you to the Tots and Dumpster crew, old and new, who save tiny little lives every month. Thank you to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry. Clemente de los Santos, Dan the Latch, Demetrius Andrews, Erica, Farrakhan, Jen Mefasanti, Kevin Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Monahim, Natsu, Penny Peddler, Risebread, Ryan Kinder, Samuel Manser, Sean S., Sean Malone, and Tom Videoger. And a tremendous shout out to our elite baby gang commanders: Atrocious Guff, Kat, Dojangles, Graham Robertson, James Gallagher, Jeff Davis, Orange Vanilla Coke, Patrick Pister, TCU's personal pilot, Andy, Ryan Carroll, Baseweight, Vinthos, Yeetus Deletus, Jonas Walter, Nathan Robinson, Jelksies, and of course, Trevstead. You are the elite. Thank you as well to our indentured servants, producer-editor Ben Webster, Minecraft mogul Laterman, Discord kitten wrangler Conrad, and producer emeritus Dan Yoshua. Thanks to Baseweight for use of Created in the Unknown for the opening theme. Thanks to Electro Voice for giving us mics to sound good on top of it. And a special thanks to Main Gear for powering all of our PC endeavors. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production in partnership with Studio 71.